La voz de mi gente es lo que tengo en mi corazón. Lo que siento y lo que hago es expresar lo que mi gente tienen que luchar en la vida para oportunidad. Y vamos a viajar en esta vía. Yo seré tu capitán y tu guía, y voy a caminar para que tú correrás, y vamos para un mundo ideal, y vamos para trabajar.
Hola mi gente, hey my people, this is Phoebe Arevalo again, and welcome to Latina Law School Journey. Today's topic is the LSAT. Lovely exam. What is the LSAT? Why is it important? What does it test? What are the different components of it? How does it affect your application to law school? And how one should prepare for the LSAT. What is the LSAT? The LSAT is the law school admissions test. Much like college, where you have to take the SAT or ACT, law school has the LSAT. Law school application consists of different components, like your resume, like your personal statement, your extracurriculars, your grades, your GPA, but the major component is the LSAT. The LSAT consists of 80% of your application. Why is it so important though? The LSAT is important because it tests your ability to critically reason, strategically read, make deductions, and use logical comprehension. Thus, the LSAT is a skills-based test. What that means is that you can't cram a week before the exam all the information and material and just expect to get a good grade. On the contrary, since it is a skills test, the only way you can study for the LSAT is to really practice and get into the material and learn it all and know all the tips and tricks to getting the right answer. The LSAT is a 3-hour and 30-minute exam. It consists of 4 components: logical reasoning, logic games, reading comprehension, and the writing sample. Each part consists of 30 minutes each. However, the logical reasoning section has 2. So in the exam, you're going to come across 2 logical reasoning sections, each of 35 minutes, and this is 50% of your score. It tests how you craft, criticize, review, and improve arguments. Thus, for the logical reasoning section, each question is more of either an argument or set of facts, so you have to identify the different components of the argument and therefore deduct the conclusion using logical reasoning. Next is the logic game section, which is all about analytic reasoning. It has 2 main types of questions, which are conditional and scenario questions, and from there, both of those categories are divided into subcategories. The games tend to consist of either assignments, ordering, or groupings, and they test your ability to read the different sets and propositions and therefore either assign, organize, or group the different patterns and scenarios that they give you. The logical game section consists of roughly 4 games, and each game has 5 to 6 questions. Then you have the reading comprehension section. This section consists of 4 main readings: law, natural science, social science, and humanities. Each passage is roughly 60 lines and has 5 to 6 questions. These questions have to do with identification, inference, and synthesis. Identification is the most straightforward because it simply wants you to identify the different components of the argument and understand what is being said. Inference builds on identification and not only requires you to identify different components of the passage, but then build on that and then make different deductions based on that identification. Synthesis then goes beyond that and requires you to take all the identification and inferences that were made and then make a broader overview of the issue at hand. The last section on the LSAT, which is not scored, is the writing sample. The writing sample is also 35 minutes, however, it is not scored. Although this section is not scored, it is sent to the colleges for them to see what it is your writing style is like. So in essence, there are 4 components of the exam: logical reasoning, logic games, reading comprehension, and the writing sample. You have 35 minutes to do each segment. Thus, this exam is very big on time and critical thinking and logical reasoning. Thus, this exam is very much skills-based. Therefore, it is important to understand the different strategies and different components of the exam and understand how it is to break them down and easily find the different components so that you fully understand it and therefore can get through the questions swiftly as fast as possible while still understanding and analyzing everything that is required of you. How do I take the LSAT? Why is it important? In order to take the LSAT, you have to sign up with the Law School Admissions Council, which is LSAT, and therefore once you have an account with there, you can register for the exam, pay the $200 towards the exam, and then take the exam. But how many times can I take this exam? This exam can be taken 3 times in your year of application. This exam does have a max amount of times you can take it. You can take it 3 times in the year of your application. You can take it 5 times 5 years prior to your application, and you can take it a total of 7 times in your lifetime. Furthermore, law schools can see your scores and how many times you have taken it. Thus, it is very important to pick and choose when it is you're going to take the exam and fully prepare for the exam. The LSAT is so heavily weighted because it is said that it gives the best predicament as to how the candidate will do in law school. That being said, it is scored on a scale from 120 to 180, 180 being the best, and the average score is 153. Thus, since it is very heavily weighted on your application to law school, it is very important and crucial for you to take the time you need to study and really master the material and the skills for this exam. However, this exam does not stop there. This exam is still important not only in your entrance to law school, but also in the amount of scholarship and aid you will receive. It is very important for one to research what law schools you want to attend and what scores are needed to enter that law school, and then deduct what score or goal it is that you are aiming for. For example, if a law school has an average acceptance score of 160, then the applicant would try to reach a score of 165 to 170 in order to be above the 75 percentile. The higher your score is in comparison to the average score of acceptances, then the higher scholarships and aid you receive. This is not to say that if your score is less than the average that they will not accept you. They still accept students who score below the average or median. However, they give less aid to those students because it is predicted based on the exam that they will not do as good at this school. Thus, when it comes to law school, it is very important not only to have a good GPA, have a good resume, be a well-rounded student, but it is very important to have a good LSAT score. Wait, I thought GPA was important. Yes, your GPA is very much important, and that GPA also has an influence on what LSAT score you should be aiming for. If you have a low GPA, the schools automatically see that as a negative. However, if you have an high LSAT score with a low GPA, that levels the playing field more and allows them to see that you are still a good candidate and you are very much able and ready for this school. However, just like how the LSAT can help you when you have a low GPA, it can also hurt you if you have a high GPA. If you have a high GPA, but your LSAT score is very low, that can also be a negative effect on your application and show the schools that you are not ready for that specific school, because your GPA is important. However, the LSAT is even more definite and predicts how it is you will do at that law school. How do I study for the LSAT then? Well, a lot of students study a year, 6 months, 4 months in advance. The earlier you start studying, the better, because the more you study, the more time you have to practice the material, practice the skills, and really master them. There are a lot of students who spend hours a day studying for the exam, and that's how they practice the material and master it. However, it is up to you how it is you want to study for the exam and figure out what works best for you in the mastering of these skills. However, the more time you spend on it, the more you're going to master it. Practice makes perfect with these skills. What materials should I use? Well, for the LSAT, there is a lot of different study materials. There are various different programs and different books and different materials that you can use in studying for the LSAT. One has to really think through and be picky about what material they want for what goal that they're reaching. There are various courses that are 4-hour courses for 5 to 7 days a week, which are 1 to 2 month long programs. These can be very helpful because you have those classes and you designate those 4 hours a day to the LSAT. However, it has been found that these materials actually help when trying to enter in on those specific problems and areas that need to see improvement. Furthermore, not everyone has the time to designate 4 hours of their day in addition to school and work and helping around the house. Thus, there are students that do study on their own and have simply buy material and designate hours that they can to study the material. One material that I have found that has been very helpful for me has been LSAT Max. Not only do they have books for you to break down the material and really learn the different types of questions and skills that are needed to master and skills that need to be mastered, but they also have different lessons and tutorings at your disposal to use when you have time. Therefore, when studying for the LSAT, you can pay to be part of a program that will really walk you through the different materials and be a 1 to 2 month program. You could simply buy books on your own study. You could buy the material for programs like LSAT that have the material at your disposal and people to help you at any time and for you to create your schedule. What material you use to study for the LSAT is really dependent on what your goal is, what your time is, and how much time you want to dedicate to studying for the LSAT. All in all, the LSAT has a lot of weight to it, and it is very important for you to study, to dedicate that time you need in order to really master the materials and skills in order to succeed and have a good score, and therefore get into the college that you desire and receive good aid. On that note, next week's video is going to be a week-long study with me video, so look forward to that. And then the week after that is going to be LSAT material and my LSAT plan. And that is all I have for you guys. If you guys have any more questions about the LSAT or about preparing for it or registering for it or just want to talk LSAT, drop your questions down below. And other than that, es todo lo que tengo por ustedes. Hasta luego, mi gente. Till next time, my people.